And if we ask the stars what they mean, what would they say back to us? Welcome! You want to go on a card journey today? Give me some of your time, and I'll give you some of your story. Well, let's see what the cards say. Hey there, Aquarius. Welcome to Quick Place Tarot. My name is Coin. I'm going to be your tarot card reader for today. As a set of quick announcements, please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and hit the notification button. That way when uploads are made, you can see what the stars are trying to say to you. Also, if interested, individual reads are back up and open. Either message or email me directly. Link is on main and we'll set it up, okay? So, Aquarius, what are we looking at in this round of reads? This is going to be, at time recording, we're getting towards the end of June, moving into July. This is going to be your ATC As Things Change read. The prior format used to be aces on top, tens on the bottom, and as time changes, energy shifts, seasons change, etc., seeing what comes in and what goes out. Instead, we're going to get the halfway point, which is the fives, marked by each element: water, earth, fire, and air, cups, pentacles, wands, and swords, respectively. Here, the fives are cards of conflict, and therefore we dive right in. The intentionality being that if we go and deal with the problem directly, we can glean some immediate insight that may not be available to us while we're in the thick of it, right? So as a preamble to the read, Aquarius, take what resonates, leave what doesn't, but don't always be so willing to reverse. At times, even when it gets difficult, understand that I, as your tarot card reader, I'm not here to misguide you or mislead you. Trust me, I got 12 times to work with and none of the time to lie to any of them. Instead, we are going to lay our cards out on the table, and good or bad, come rain or sunshine, we'll talk about it, because at the end of the day, tarot is a conversation, just an energetic one. Yeah. So follow along with me in your ATC As Things Change read, Aquarius. And yeah, let's see what the cards say. We're gonna start over here with your Five of Cups. So what's the cards that we need to see, please? Find that Five of Cups for Aquarius in this read. Nope, I'll stop it right there. Upon the Five of Cups. Interesting that it comes under the Five of Cups. Strength. Why? Why do we need to find internal solitude and fortitude? Death. Okay. What cycle is coming to an end? Okay. Emperor. Leo, Scorpio, Aries, all respectively being their power cards, but for the sake of conversation, that's not what's relevant. You are having to make the active decision of a cycle's closure. And I get it that it is not something that you necessarily want to part ways from, but all in all, in the grand scheme of things, you already assess this is what is best for me, even if I don't like it, right? Originally, I was questioning, why do we have to, shore up our defenses and, our strength underneath the Five of Cups? It just feels so sad. We're trying to resist the tidal wave of feelings that we have around this decision to say, regardless of how I feel, this is still right. I know that I'm still right, even if I don't like what's going on here. Okay, so good. Next to the Five of Pentacles, what do you feel left out and left behind from? Because again, three majors in the immediate. You're suppressing a lot of feelings just to get the point across. What are we doing, Aquarius? So now we look into the Five of Pentacles. Why do you feel left out and left behind? What is there to be gained from this? Show us cards you need to see, please, upon the Five of Pentacles in this read. Ten of Cups. Okay. Because life is showing you that there's so much more out there, but why? I'm still trying to get at that. Ace of Pentacles, new opportunity awaits. How so? The Knight of Wands. Oh, because staying in this scenario is keeping you from realizing everything else that is out there for you, right? The Five of Pentacles, we fear missing out on life, right? And whatever scenario you're applying this to, Aquarius, you know full well that staying in this whatever bond or dynamic that's going on here, and that's probably why you're trying to suppress all your feelings in regards to it. There's so much more of life out there to see. You know it, you realize that, in fact, you want to go for it with that Knight of Wands. Knights are cards of action. They put things into motion. Here, the fire of the spirit, or I'm ready to seek new adventure and new opportunity. I hope it finds me well. Putting all that underneath your Five of Pentacles, we feel like we're missing out on life right now. Whatever we're having to make this tough decision about, we're not seeing the things that we could potentially see or want because, hey, we chose to stay here. And there was a price attached to that. Next to the Five of Wands. Shows the cards we need to see, please. The direct engagement and conflict shows what? What cards do we need to see, please, upon the Five of Wands and Aquarius's read as things change? Three of Cups. Reunion, but in what way? Why are there multiple cups at the table? Knight of Swords. The intentionality to deal with an action. How so? Oh, okay. For some of you, Ace of Swords popping out in that last one. The home element tool, that is your basically your domain, Aquarius of air. That sword now being wielded by a knight. Take action, know truth, strike quickly. Going back to that Three of Cups. For some of you Aquarius, you're realizing there's a relationship you don't want to be in anymore. And there's somebody else, or just a breakaway that must happen from the current dynamic because it's no longer healthy or sustainable or good for you. That's the first. Small subset, but it very much is there. The next, I don't necessarily always read the Three of Cups as, hey, there's another party, even though one cup is with one person, the other cup's with another, so who's the third? That's oftentimes the interpretation or the ask of it, especially if there's an intimate partner dynamic here. But I'm reading that Three of Cups here as being the reminder that there's so much else outside of what I currently have, right? The conflict that we now have is, okay, once we acknowledge that, we also have to acknowledge our discontent. Right, and that's something that we don't want to deal with. However, the Ace of Swords and the Knight of Swords, once I realize that, I can't unknow the truth. That's just not an option for me here and now. Okay, so going to the Five of Swords, your home element of air. Shows the cards that we need to see, please. What's going on with that internal monologue of Aquarius in their ATC read? Shows the cards we need to see, please, for Aquarius in this read today. King of Cups. Okay, what does it mean to make the mature decision? The Moon, the card of Pisces. So many unknown factors. Wouldn't it be better just to stay? And the Eight of Wands. It requires direct communication. We need to speak to it regardless. Underneath it all, Five of Wands. We got to engage in conflict. Here's what's going on, at least from the baseline Aquarius. It's become abundantly clear. You're having to make a choice that you have come to almost a begrudging level of solution and solidity in, and therefore it made you realize, A, you're missing out on a lot of life by staying in a scenario or staying in your current condition, and B, whether it's intimate partner or not, or just trying to save the rest of the world or not, you realize that if you stay in the current scenario, nothing can change. And so you know the best thing for you is to have this conversation, that Eight of Wands traveling towards that King of Cups. However, wouldn't it just be easier to pretend that things are different, right? The Moon here being kind of seductive in that way of saying, hey, there's so many unknowns, wouldn't you just rather go with what you do know, even if it's not fulfilling, right? So there's this internal conflict that you've been holding on to for a while, of just saying something has to come to an absolute end. What that looks like for you, not entirely sure. What I am sure of is that you're too dissatisfied to both unsee and go back. Neither are an option for you anymore. Okay? So, good. At least we're being honest. Can I get a card under each five? Show us cards we need to see, please. ATC for Aquarius, as things change, a card under each 5. And there we go. 9 of Cups, yeah. My fulfillment rests beyond my fear about making this decision. It hurts, but I just can't stay here anymore, right? I need to move, gotta leave. Next to the King of Pentacles, underneath that 5 of Pentacles, we know what the better investment is. It's elsewhere. It's doing something different, doing something new. And it's honestly pushing us towards that direction. Will we give up on that simply just to say, oh, we're comfortable? What does that mean here? Next to the 5 of Wands, Judgment. We know all the aspects of truth here and know the action that must be taken, particularly around, again, for those seeking new love or a new relationship, ending the old one, and for those who are trying to basically expand and branch out. Will we shy away from the obvious answer, right? Judgment there coming out, the second highest even of all the majors. Are we learning the lesson or just repeating the pattern? And last, to the 5 of Swords, 4 of Pentacles. What is the right investment? We can pretend we don't know and basically lie to ourselves just to keep it easy, or we could take the hard route, which is probably gonna have the most amount of turnover and results for you. Underneath it all, 5 of Cups, still painful. 2 5s now drawn. The pain hasn't left. Both fire and water, how we feel and what we're doing with it. Almost regretful in a way. And I don't know, maybe there's even more than I originally suspected of the Aquarius collective who's having a breakup with somebody, but there's life to go live. What are we going to do afterwards? Okay. Next, as we move towards resolution, define the major arcana straight across the table in this read for Aquarius. Let's look at death first. Yeah, let's look at death first. Underneath your 5 cups. Show us cards when you can see, please. As we push forward in this read. Why must a cycle come to an end? Definitively, why do we need to reach that level of closure? Yeah, sometimes it's just how it plays out. The Knight of Cups. I've given my absolute best to this scenario and nothing has changed. There's nothing left to do then. And I think you coming to these realizations and then saying out loud, Aquarius, that's probably what hurt the most, to be totally honest. It didn't change your conclusions, it just changed how you approached it. To the Emperor, why do we make this choice? Ace of Pentacles, there's new opportunities out there for me. I just gotta be brave enough to go see them. 2, Strength, the card of Leo. 10 of Wands, the burden that sits with me now is following through with this, executing the plan, or doing whatever conclusion I already said was obvious. Next, to the Moon, what about the things left in me misunderstood? 4 of Wands. Okay, yeah, there's more of you having to deal with relationship issues, I thought. Here, the Moon, being used as a shadow eminence or a concealer. The Moon here underneath that 5 of Swords, I mean, isn't just staying a lot easier than having to deal with the harsh truths that we don't want to be here anymore, right? You're having a hard time even lying to yourself about that, Aquarius. However, what I do want you to sit with is, if that's the answer that we're coming up with, at least, then at most, why are you staying, right? To Judgment. Lovers, what does this path actually mean for you? I'm getting the odd feeling I'm talking to an Aquarius right now who is realizing they no longer want to be in a relationship, but also, call spade a spade, you might be in love with somebody else, right? All these things are weighed up evenly, but regardless, we're asking ourselves, why am I staying? If I have to coax myself into it rather than giving a forthright justification, maybe that's why I should look at it in the first place. Last, in resolution. I drew two, so I'll just take two. The Ace of Cups and the Page of Cups. New opportunities and fulfillment are emotional depths to be had, and also being able to appreciate the little things. I don't think it's necessarily animosity, what you hold for your current partner, if that's the narrative that applies to you, Aquarius, but rather, hey, we still gotta go. Five of Cups, there we go. Yep. The honesty of pain and how it's coming out bit by bit right now. Underneath it all, Ten of Pentacles, the foundation of the rest of life. Who am I left to be once I discover the truth? And what am I trying to carve? Here's what I see in your read today, Aquarius. More than I originally expected, but not necessarily all. You're having to come to a harsh truth about leaving a scenario behind or a relationship behind. And the notion of a relationship that, hey, it's convenient to say I'm in a relationship, but there's no longer the love that used to be there. And I need to be honest with myself, because me going through the motions is only causing both of us pain. That's the first. And now questioning what love truly is for me, it should feel natural like it used to be, not like it does right now. So that's one large contingency of the Aquarius collective. The next is whatever dynamic I had to leave behind that is a non-love oriented thing. There is so much more out there for me that the only excuse I had to stay is that it's unfamiliar and therefore I don't want to see it, right? We're scared. And that's valid and true, Aquarius. However, you're also going to start to grow resentful of the things that you were too scared to try out in the first place, right? I don't want that to be just your guiding principle that I can't change because change is scary. Yeah, do it scared and do it anyways, okay? So that's why I see in your read today, Aquarius. I hope this conversation helped. And yeah, can it get better afterwards? Absolutely. In fact, you've already come to the conclusion of that. Now it's time to make the hard decision. Follow through. I'll see you around, okay? Take care.